I'm Dr. Christy, and this is Climbing Fish Parenting, practical parenting strategies in 20 minutes or less. I'm a psychologist and behavior analyst, and I work with exhausted, overwhelmed parents who feel like they've tried everything and nothing works. If you're listening to this while folding the laundry, hiding in your car, or wishing bedtime would just end already, you're in the right place. Today, I want to talk about back-to-school anxiety, both the version you'd recognize in a second and the version that blindsides you, because it doesn't look like anxiety at all. By the end of this episode, you'll have a completely different way of reading what's happening in your house right now, whichever way it's showing up. Ready to transform your parenting journey? Let's dive in. I want to start with a composite story. It represents a bunch of families that I've worked with because this same situation comes up time and time again. Samantha was doing really well by the end of the school year. She had grown so much. You could see it in her. She had worked beautifully on emotion regulation throughout the year. She was getting more mature. And then the summer came. It went beautifully. She was in her element. She was even handling social situations that used to trip her up, the kind of thing that would have been hard for her a year before. If you had looked at Samantha in July, you'd have felt like she had truly turned a corner. And then her mom came to me near the end of the summer, genuinely confused. She said, "I don't know why she can't get along with her siblings. And she's balking at the family vacation to the beach. She loves visiting with her grandparents who are going to be there. And she doesn't even want to go." Sit with that for a second. This is a kid who suddenly can't be in the same room as her brother and sister without it detonating. Who's fighting her family on a trip to the beach, a place she loves, to see grandparents that she adores. Nothing bad had happened. Nothing had changed. And her mom is sitting across from me trying to figure out what's wrong with her kid. So here's what was going on. Something was about to change. School was coming, and her body knew it even before the rest of her could say it. Here's what a lot of people don't realize about anxiety in kids. It very often doesn't look like worry. Researchers who study childhood anxiety have found this again and again. In a lot of kids, anxiety doesn't show up as a child telling you they're scared. It shows up as irritability, as anger. In one study of children with diagnosed anxiety disorders, more than half of them were also significantly irritable. Not worried looking necessarily, but irritable. It makes sense when you remember what anxiety actually is. It's a threat response. It's the body bracing. And when a body braces, it doesn't always run or freeze. Sometimes it fights. Sometimes it comes out as a total blow-up over being asked to turn off the tablet. The war with the sibling, the flat refusal to go to the thing that they normally love. And it comes out where it's safe. Think about what your kid is doing all day out in the world. They're holding it together, managing the noise, the demands, the not knowing, the people, holding. And then they come home to you, to the one place safe enough to stop holding. And it all comes down. Not because home is the problem, because home is a safe place. You don't fall apart in front of the people you're bracing around. You fall apart in front of the people you trust to still be there after. So when your kid is a nightmare at home in the weeks around back to school, and everywhere else they seem to be more or less fine, that is not the absence of anxiety. That's often the very evidence of it. And here's the part that makes it so confusing. The very place that's causing the anxiety is often the place they look the most fine. The teacher tells you it was a great day. The report is good. And that's exactly the trap. School is the one place they can't afford to let it show. So it waits, and it rides home with them, and it comes out where it's safe. Nothing is wrong with your kid, and nothing is wrong with you. Now, I've been talking about the version that's hard to spot, because that's the one that blindsides parents. But I don't want you to walk away thinking this only counts when it's in disguise. Because for a lot of kids, back-to-school anxiety looks exactly like what you'd expect it to. It looks like tears, the "I don't want to go," the stomach aches and the headaches that are completely real. But they're the kind that you take to the doctor and the doctor checks everything out and finds nothing. Because the cause isn't in the stomach. It's in a nervous system running on high alert. It looks like trouble falling asleep. The same worried question, ask 10 times a day. The kid who suddenly doesn't want you out of their sight. That is back to school anxiety too. It's the same thing wearing different clothes. Some kids show it in words, some kids show it in behavior, and plenty of kids do both. And the very same kid can show you one thing one year and something completely different the next. So you're not looking for one right picture. You're looking for a kid whose baseline shifted when school came into view. And it doesn't hit on the same schedule for every kid, wherever you are right now. Already a few weeks into the school year, or watching it loom about to start in the next 2 weeks, some version of this can land. It might show up ahead of time, or once things get going, or both. So this isn't about pinning down one type or one situation. It's about recognizing it whenever it arrives. For the kids where it comes ahead, weeks out, they're already in it. The same question over and over. Who's my teacher? Is so-and-so going to be in my class? What if I can't find my room? Stomach aches without a fever, suddenly needing you for things they could do on their own a month ago. This kid is living the first day of school 200 times before it arrives. Other kids, it comes right as it begins, and it hangs out for a while. They weren't especially worried beforehand, and they weren't bouncing off the walls excited either. But once school actually starts, they're anxious, and they stay anxious through those first few weeks, while everything is still new and nothing has become automatic yet. And then there's the kid who fools everybody. This one is fine going in, maybe even excited. New backpack, ready to go. The first week is great, and everybody exhales. See, all that worrying for nothing. And then a week or two in, the wheels come off. The newness wore off, and the reality landed. This is hard. It's loud. My friend isn't in my class. This teacher doesn't get me yet, and I have to do this every single day. And you're standing there thinking, they were doing so well. What happened? Nothing happened. The anxiety was just on a delay. If that last one is your kid, the calm first week isn't the finish line. Sometimes it's the quiet before the hard part shows up. And I don't tell you that to make you brace for the doom ahead. I tell you so that if it comes, you're not blindsided. You'll recognize it, you'll know exactly what it is, and you'll know it's still just a hard stretch of a transition, not a sign that anything's gone wrong. Now, you already know that back to school is a big adjustment. I'm not going to stand here and explain to you that kids don't love change. You've lived that for years, but I want to name why it lands so much harder on your kid than on a neurotypical kid down the street. Because it moves you from, why is he being so dramatic, to, of course, it isn't one change. It's every part of the day changing at once. The predictability that they run on, that's shifted. New schedule, new rooms, new expectations, and half the time they don't even find out their teachers until a few days before it starts. The whole structure of the day flips because no summer, no camp, however busy, looks anything like a school day. The thinking load jumps overnight. The sensory world turns inside out. The kid who was quiet at home all summer is suddenly in a cafeteria that roars, sweating through a gym class, sitting through a loud music room. The social ground shifts all at once. Is the kid who picks on me going to be in my class? Is the one friend I worked the whole year to finally make going to be there? Or did I lose them over the summer? Were they just not in my class? And the things they leaned on to hold themselves steady all summer, the quiet, the control over their own time, the pet they sat with every morning, those are just gone. And here's the part that stacks it. Every single one of those things is already harder for these kids to begin with. Reading the room, tolerating the noise and the input, telling someone what they need, being understood. That's the difficulty on an ordinary day. Now we've thrown all of it into the air at the same time. Of course the tank drains fast. Of course it spills the second they're somewhere safe. So here's what I want you to hold on to, because it changes how this feels to live through. This is a spike, not a forecast. Back to school anxiety is situational. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Because it's tied to a transition, and transitions end. Your kid adjusts. The new becomes the known, the tank stops emptying so fast. So often, the anticipation is worse than the thing itself. The dread of it is bigger than the reality of it, which means the stretch you might be in right now, the weeks before, those first rocky weeks after, is frequently the hardest part. Not a preview of the year. The kid melting down at home in late August is not showing you what your whole year is going to be. They're showing you they're in the hardest part of something genuinely hard. Rough right now doesn't mean rough in October. Say that to yourself as many times as you need to. So let's talk about what helps. And I want to give you the principle underneath all of it first, because it's the piece most back-to-school advice gets wrong. The approach is direct but contained. Here's what I mean. With an anxious kid, we tend to go one of two ways. Either we avoid the topic completely so we don't make it worse, or out of love, we're checking in on it all day long. And both of those backfire. Avoiding it tells your kid this thing is too scary to even say out loud. And circling it constantly, whatever you give your attention to grows. You end up watering the worry. So you do neither. You name it directly and matter-of-factly. Yes, school's coming. Yes, that's a lot. Here's what we actually know. And then you contain it. You give the worry a set time, anchored to something that already happens in your day, maybe after the afternoon snack. That's when we talk about it, for a little while. And then when it's over, we set it down and we go back to the rest of the day. The worry gets a slot. Not the run of the house. What that looks like depends on where you are right now. If school hasn't started yet, this is your window to shrink the unknowns. If bedtime drifted later of the summer, start walking it back towards school hours. Gradually, a little at a time, not all at once the night before. Preview the actual schedule the minute you have it. And go to the school. If it's a new school, go look at it together. If it's not new, you can do a kind of dry run. Get up one morning like it's a school day, pack the backpack and the lunch, and drive over. Then talk through whatever comes up, standing right there. That last part is especially helpful for the kid who tells you they don't know what feels scary about it. Because being there, present, brings it to the surface in a way that sitting at home never does. And then go do something fun. Have the packed lunch at the park or go do a different favorite thing. You looked at the hard thing together and then you tucked it away for the day. If school has already started, it's a different job. Get involved early. Know who your person is, the counselor, the case manager, the aide, and reach out before there's a crisis, not after. And when you talk to the teacher, lead with partnership. The question is, how can I help you have a great year with my kid? Not a 10-page list of everything they need handed over on day one while the teacher is still learning 25 new names. One thing that helps, and one person accountable for it, will carry you so much further. And one that's true no matter where you are. Don't interrogate your kid the moment that they get in the car. They just held it together for hours. Pickup is the most depleted moment of their whole day. And how was school lands like one more demand they have nothing left to meet. Give them the drive. Give them the snack. Give them the quiet. The real conversation happens later, at the time you set, not at the curb. There's one more piece, and it may matter more than any single strategy on the list. Your kid is reading your face. There's research showing that a parent's own anxiety ripples straight into a child's behavior. That when the stress in the house goes up and the parent's anxiety goes up, you can see it come out in the child's dysregulation. And an already braced kid is watching you especially closely for the answer to one question. Should I be scared of this? That doesn't mean you fake being fine. Kids see through that instantly. It means two things. When you can, cope out loud. Okay, I'm a little stressed about the morning, so I'm going to pack the lunches tonight so it's calmer. That lets them watch a nervous system handle itself, which is the exact thing you're trying to teach them. And when you need to actually vent, because you will, this is hard, do it out of earshot. Call a friend in the other room. Your kid doesn't need to overhear how worried you are about them, but they do need to watch you carry it. Now, I want to tell you how it went for Samantha, because the ending is the part that matters the most. Once we named what actually was going on, things started to shift. As the days went on, her mom started to see school instead of 2 steps back. We'd spent a lot of time on emotion regulation before any of this. The mom's first fear was that all of that hard-won progress was coming undone. It wasn't. And knowing that changed everything about how that mom was able to respond. She understood what she was looking at, so she set things up differently at home. The sibling interactions got a little more structure, a little more monitoring. For a while, not forever, just while her daughter was in the hardest part. And going through it that way, with everyone actually understanding what was happening, made it so much less lonely for all of them. And the next year, it went easier. Everyone knew the drill. They saw it coming and they met it. One other thing that I did, and it's kind of my favorite part. The first year, after her anxiety settled back down, I had Samantha write herself a little story, in her own words, about how the hard beginning had turned into a year she was okay in, and she kept that. The next year, the dread came around again, and she pulled it out and read it. Her own proof in her own handwriting that this feeling had lied to her before, and that it would work out again. That's what's waiting on the other side of these few weeks for your kid, too. Not a magic fix, just the slow, real evidence that they can do the hard thing, and that they're not doing it alone. So here's your one thing this week. The next time your kid melts down, or slams a door, or refuses the thing they normally love, before you correct it, ask yourself one question. What if this is about school? Now, you don't have to be sure. You might be looking at a behavior problem, or you might be looking at a kid who held it together all day and came home to the only place safe enough to fall apart, who needs your understanding a whole lot more than your consequences right now. All right, that's it for today. Back to school anxiety can have a lot of faces. It might look like traditional anxiety, or a kid who's suddenly struggling, or a kid who's fighting you over everything. But it's a spike, not a forecast. And it makes complete sense given how much is changing all at once. Your kid isn't trying to give you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And if you want more like this, including the tools I can't fit into 20 minutes here, make sure you're on my newsletter list. You can sign up at climbingfishparenting.com/newsletter. That strategy I just gave you, it's the whole climbing fish philosophy in action. There's a quote, "Everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid." Your kid isn't broken. Your parenting isn't broken. Sometimes we're just asking our fish to climb trees. That's what we fix here. I'm Dr. Christy, and I'll see you next week.